Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on orders over $10. From August 18th, 2020 through September 25th, 2020, if you use this promo code, you will automatically be entered into a drawing to win a Zendikar Rising set booster box. Also, there is another way to enter where no purchase is necessary. See the link in the description below for full details. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to the special edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. This is our Picks of the Month video for August 2020. And if you're not familiar with this series, basically we talk about some cards that could be going up in value at some point in the not too distant future. And this video does go out a little bit quicker to the folks on Patreon who are gold supporters. If you're catching this on YouTube now, it is about 24 to 48 hours later. Some of the prices might have shifted a little bit, so just keep that in mind as we go throughout the video. But I'm not really anticipating big changes with the cards we're talking about today, at least in the short term. Now, that being said, this month we're going to look at 12 commander cards that might get better with Zendikar Rising. Zendikar Rising is obviously going to have Land Matters themes, and there's a good chance that Landfall is going to be coming back. I feel like that is a strong mechanic that has a lot of support, not only from Wizards, but from the community. And having new cards that revolve around that mechanic, or just new Land Matters cards, could push the value of the cards we are going to be looking at today. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Alright, again, remember today's video is not about cards that are necessarily the best cards to throw in all your commander decks. These 12 cards are maybe going to become better, but really this is about cards that could be going up in value in the not too distant future more than anything. Also too, when it came to selecting these 12 cards, I didn't go too deep into actual legendary creatures that could be commanders, with a few exceptions, which you will see later, just because a lot of times they don't increase in value as quickly. And secondly, there's a good chance some of them are going to be reprinted in Commander Legends. We'll go through in color pie order, beginning with Admonition Angel, currently valued at $6.38. I always thought this was an interesting card. It does have landfall and a powerful ability actually attached to the landfall. So again, if there are more Land Matters cards coming, this could get better. Also, it is mono white, and Wizards has promised some better white cards coming in the future for Commander players. So maybe this card gets better on two fronts. Sunder from Ursa Saga is next at $6.77, and this is not on the reserve list. It did get reprinted in foil actually not all that long ago as an Amonkhet Invocation. That copy is around $20 currently, and this is in commander builds like Patron of the Moon and Tatyova Benthic Druid, but this could be a better card in the future again if you have new landfall cards to play around with. Nixalis the Fallen is next, and this is another card with landfall that has a pretty powerful effect attached to it. You can get the Zendikar copy for $11.75. The Iconic Masters copy is currently at $11.59. Now, this is currently in a lot of popular commander decks. Lord Windgrace, Yarok the Desecrated, the Gitrog Monster, Golos Tireless Pilgrim, and much more. And those four commanders I just mentioned actually house a number of the cards that we're going to be seeing in this video today. So keep that in mind. Even though they're not part of the 12 that I listed here, depending on circumstances, they could see some increases too. Nesting Dragon, I always thought this was a fun landfall creature as well. This has yet to be reprinted. It's from Commander 2018, currently valued at $9.49. This card is also in Lord Windgrace builds, but it has been showing up in some newer decks as well. Things like Atlaplani Nest Tender and some of the builds of Radha Heart of Kjell. Next we have a card that is a fantastic commander card in land-centric decks, but also is just a fantastic commander card anyway, and you'll find this in numerous builds. It is Lotus Cobra at $17.29 for the Zendikar copy and $15.88 for the Iconic Masters copy. Now, some of the decks you'll find this in extremely frequently are decks like Lord Windgrace, Trulane Teller of Tales, Omnith Locus of Rage, Golos Tireless Pilgrim, but like I said, it's in a lot of other decks. It doesn't even have to be a deck that cares that much about lands, and it's still a good card. A card like this only stands to get better with the new Zendikar Rising set coming. Next we have Nissa Vital Force at $4.20, and what's kind of cool about this one is all of its abilities can tie in with the land-centric commander deck in some way. You have the +1 untap target land you control, so if you have a land that maybe can give you more than just one mana, there could be some value there. The -3 return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand, so that could be a land card, and there are a lot of land decks that do cycle lands through the graveyard and then back to the hand or back into play. And maybe we'll have more cards that will support that in the new set, who knows. And the -6 also ties into lands. you get an emblem with whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card, which would be a really phenomenal landfall style effect, right? So again, potentially this card could get pushed a little bit by cards from Zendikar Rising, but currently you'll find this in Lord Windgrace, Atraxa Praetor's Voice, which was recently reprinted in Double Masters, and much more. Mina and Den Wildborn at $2.44. Now sometimes this is used as a commander. It is green as well as red. It is legendary. But most often I see it as part of the 99 in a land-centric build. And there aren't many cards that are better for a landfall strategy than this one. You get to play an additional land on each of your turns, and it has the ability to play a red and a green to return a land you control to its owner's hand so you can play it again later, maybe even on that turn. And on top of that, target creature gains trample until end of turn, which is perfect in these Gruul colors. So again, it has potential to get better in the future. Some of the big decks that currently run it are Lord Windgrace and Omnith Locus of Rage, but it's in a lot of other places too. How's that for a transition? Omnith Locus of Rage at $10.59. This one, I have to admit, does get used relatively frequently as a commander, but this is such a highly played card that also does show up in the 99 of a lot of decks too, that I wanted to include it here as part of the 12. Beyond that, we know we are getting a new Omnith and Zendikar Rising, and maybe we will get some other new elementals too. Great landfall ability that lets you create that 5/5 red-green elemental creature token that's a pretty sizable creature. And then on top of it, whenever this or another elemental you control dies, it deals 3 damage to any target. That's the current Oracle text. Aside from being a commander, other decks that do run this are things like Lord Windgrace again, Omnith Locus of the Royal, Golos Tireless Pilgrim, and more. It also even has seen some increased play in Radha Heart of Kjell builds recently. This one is Storm Cauldron, and there are 3 copies to talk about today. We have the one from Alliances at $2.68. 6th edition copy is at $3.05, and the 7th edition copy is $2.84. So this does cost $5. It's not a very cheap card, and it does give the effect to everybody at the table, so other players might be able to take advantage of this as well. But hopefully, if you're in a very landfall-centric deck, then this is going to benefit you more so than it is going to benefit other players. Also, the second part can really disrupt a deck that isn't built around this type of strategy, or maybe doesn't have a lot of cheap plays. It is an older card that might be harder to find in the secondary market in good condition, and even a few purchases here or there could get the value of these cards to start to move up a little bit. Currently, the most common deck that runs this are the Tatyova Benthic Druid builds. Oboro, Palace in the Clouds, is currently at $21.80. This card has been moving up a little bit recently. I'm sure it has to do with speculation around Zendikar Rising, but I do think the potential is there for this card to move up even further before it stabilizes and then maybe eventually begins to come down a little bit. Now, like the previous card, you might find this in Tatyova Benthic Druid builds and many other places. It even sees a little modern play. What I like about this card, though, it's another one that is perfect in landfall builds. Check out that second ability there. Pay 1 and return this to its owner's hand. So even if you don't draw a land for your turn, if you want to trigger landfall, the option is going to be there for you by returning this to your hand for the 1 mana and playing it. Also, I think it's pretty cool that that ability does not cause the land to tap. Thawing Glaciers. Now, this one is on the reserve list, but they did print this as a Judge Foil before they closed that loophole. Currently valued at $16.99. This is another way to get an additional land into play on your turn, but it's also a land itself, which is kind of nice too. You'll find this one in commander builds like Omnith Locus of Rage and Tatyova Benthic Druid, but you might be seeing it in more places in the future. That's very possible. Alright, this next card is also on the reserve list, Undiscovered Paradise, currently at $48. I gotta warn you though, this has spiked recently, so it could trend down a little bit in the short term. Now, it kind of looked like initially this was a target of a buyout. Maybe it was targeted just because it was a reserve list card. Maybe it was partially targeted because of Zendikar Rising. But I do think what you might see with this card is a little bit of retraction in the short term. But as we get closer to Zendikar Rising coming out, especially since this is on people's radar now, it could start to climb again. So I don't know if I would pull the trigger currently at $48, but I would keep a close eye on this one. This is another example of a land that gives you the opportunity to potentially play it many times over the course of a game, which is perfect for landfall. Alright, that does it for this special edition of the Market Watch. Join us this weekend and every weekend as we break down the entire secondary market in our regular episode of the Market Watch. But until then, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.